Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. This comic doesn't want to be reviewed. The second episode of this show covered an issue of the comic Dooms 4. Naturally, I reviewed the second issue of a 4-issue miniseries instead of the first issue. It's a wonder the show actually has lasted as long as it has given the decision-making skills I had back then. Dooms 4 was yet another Rob Liefeld created series, though he only came up with the story and characters, he did not write or draw the interiors. In this case, it was arguably a rip-off of the Fantastic Four, because most of Liefeld's image output was trying to rip off other people's characters. I looked at the second issue because that's what I had a copy of at the time, and I was basically flying by the seat of my pants at that point. I didn't have a theme song or even the Where Bad Comics Burn tagline. The description of the video from the original blog was just another video recap, since this was only the second time I had tried to do this after I did all text stuff. It's also the origin of the Combine Harvester freakout, done because the letters page featured fans of this stuff that suggested some questionable casting ideas for a potential movie. Namely because the book existed to be a prequel to a movie that never got off the ground, leaving the backstories and origins a mystery. That was a more innocent time. I feel like we've looked at so many awful, much worse comics these last several hundred episodes that freaking out that people like something that I don't is just kinda douchey. Like what you want, even if I think it's trash. And a few years ago, I realized, hey, I should finally get back to this comic. I did do the 1/2 issue back in 2010, but that's still a decade without doing anything with this awful, awful book. And this book just keeps refusing to be reviewed. I was gonna do it in 2018 for the 10th anniversary, but Patreon-sponsored episodes then happened, and I had to reshuffle the schedule, cutting it. In 2019, Patreon-sponsored reviews again! I had it planned in advance, I was ready to tackle it, but it was clear I needed to give up something for the stuff people paid for. In 2020, I was prepared. I had made sure Patreon-sponsored review slots were empty and everything around it was scheduled, so no sudden interruptions with them. But then I had to move because I blew up the house I rented, so that meant reorganizing the schedule again, and Dooms 4 once more was cut. But hey, 2021, I've got my act together, right? I scheduled this episode the same week I worked on History of Power Rangers, which often eats up a massive amount of time. That's why this isn't even close to coming out on Monday. So here we are, and that's why it's still late. Let's dig into Dooms 4, number 1, and finally frickin' review this damn thing.
Atop the fourth wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. What's with these awkward subjects? What's all this art so rubbish? To anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he is a man punched sporadically or grouch. Linkara, he has his own spaceship, but he's always on his couch. A universe in flux, Linkara. This comic sucks, Linkara.
The cover is bad, mostly because it's not very well organized. A group shot of the 4 members of the team. It's too busy, they're all crammed together in bad poses, and everyone of course has to show off how 90s they are, with gritted teeth and roaring expressions and massive muscles.
Dude, that's what makes it one of the best ways of doing a cover ever!
But yeah, the 4 characters are just kinda haphazardly put on the page. Big dude in the upper left, the upper right taken up by center dude's arm, lower left and lower right have the other members, one running or flying at the reader, while the other is striking an action pose. It just looks like it was slapped together at the last minute and there's no cohesion to any of it. Also, yeah, I can't remember their names. It's been hundreds of episodes and over a decade since I talked about this. And do you like going back to watch my oldest episodes to refresh your memory of this stuff? I don't. Besides, this is supposed to be the first issue. Think of this as a new introduction to these guys. And hey, as bad as this cover is, better than the Liefeld one, which was apparently a wraparound with the logo shoved down at the bottom, half of big dude's arm, gradient background, and half face mask guy shoved over to the right, and his legs sinking into the dirt given how small his ankles are otherwise. Also, this may not have been a wraparound, since issue 2's cover by Liefeld apparently made up another half of it? Whatever, it doesn't matter. We open with big guy's face shattering like glass. Snap! Crackle! Pop! And this, my friends, is what happens when you leave Rice Krispies treats out for too long. Geez, you know you're not using enough skin lotion when not only is your skin literally cracking, but your teeth are too. Anyway, we have to turn the comic on its side to get some context, because reading comic books the normal way is for losers who don't want their heroes to be made of crumbling graham crackers. This is Brick, who's doing his morning workout with a massive lifting machine, and I'll give the stupid layout choice credit. It's to highlight the size of this machine, and they do incorporate the book's title cleverly at the top of it. Splintering, cracking, shattering, the intense pressure strains his monstrous bulk as super powerful limbs test their limits. Admittedly, I'm not a doctor, but if testing your limits involves literally splintering, cracking, and shattering the parts of your body that can do that, you're probably at those limits already. As he finishes up, Brick's 2 children come running in, chasing each other. Daddy, Shondi cheats! He's just sore because I beat him all the way here from the relay tracks on level 3. Whoa, level 3? That's about a mile of hallway and 2 floors away. That's not a healthy workout at all. How are your bones supposed to fracture into a million pieces that way? Brick's body is weird. The kids ask for a slide ride, and he converts his harder form into a kind of sand that the kids can ride down. That being said, the coloring choices on it are bad, because honest to God, every time I look at this, I don't see sand, I see magma that's gonna burn these children alive. Then again, the sand can do the same burning if it's a hot enough day, so... Before he can continue playing with his kids, the intruder alarm starts blaring. Brick orders the kids to head to a safe room. Okay, seeing as how we didn't leave any forwarding address, I got a bad feeling we've got an old problem pounding on our door. I knew we shouldn't have bought those Girl Scout cookies on credit. They're relentless! As he rants to himself about being interrupted during either his workout or playing with his kids, a gun suddenly comes out of nowhere and blasts him to dust. Squad 1 to Squad 2, Target 1 terminated. Over. Even if he had compacted his silica to absolute maximum density, he couldn't have withstood that blast. I know I said over already, but I decided to keep talking anyway. I'm a bit of a chatty Cathy. The assassin, presumably some kind of robot or cyborg, says that this comes courtesy of the Dooms Corporation. I'm pretty sure I broke down why that was a stupid name in one of the other reviews, but it kind of bears repeating. Who the hell names their company that? Unless you're Dr. Doom, it seems like really bad marketing to name your corporation Doom. What's more, that you'd name it as if your company belonged to Doom. I mean, maybe if the company was started by the Doom Marine, but he's not really the type of guy who'd have the patience for shareholder meetings. Unless the shareholders were demons, in which case he'd attended to murder them all. And okay, maybe Invader Zim would have named it that, but he's not exactly the smartest of villains. Anyway, a second group of assassins, which is odd, the first one seemed to call himself a squad, while the other squad is made up of at least 3, finds this woman, Byrne, on the level of their base that's just a big blue and green gradient. Barely in her 20s, Kate McClellan never thought this kind of scenario loomed in her future. However, she still finds it preferable to service industry jobs. Byrne soon realizes that these things are not out to capture her, but kill her and the others. She manages to fight back against them using heat blasts. She is not called Byrne for nothing. It mostly refers to her cooking. It is her unwelcome ability to generate intense temperatures with no more than a mere gesture, an ability unwittingly supplied by the same organization whose agents seek to ensure her murder. Severance packages work differently in the Dooms Corporation. Byrne has dealt with the ones after her, so we cut over to the third member of this group that prefers the Roman numeral for 4, probably just so it can be trademarked, Slider, who has the ability to phase through solid objects. How'd they get this deep so quickly? Had no idea those half-human cyborgs could move so fast. Now, the half-gopher cyborgs, I kind of expected that. Using his phasing, he's able to punch out one of his would-be killers. Man, that was a cinch. He never saw it coming. Then again, how could he? I said, how could he? I'm talking to you, unconscious cyborg! However, another assassin comes up the hallway and shoots at him. Whoops! Looks like I came out of hiding too soon. So much for my element of surprise. But since when did that ever stop the ever-charismatic Slider, superstar? Are any of you gonna react to my monologuing? I feel like I'm wasting my time here. Well, you did just kick my head off, and yet you're talking to me now. Maybe. Or maybe this is a brain aneurysm caused by a pinching off of blood flow when you twisted your body like this to kick my head off. God, look at him screaming in pain as he does the splits that far apart. That's bitchin', man. It's good to know they care enough to send the very best in robot killers. And thank God I'm only using the best deodorant in this situation. Smell my armpits. Smell them. Apparently this place had an in case of emergency smash glass with jetpacks inside of it, since Byrne has indeed broken the glass to grab one and fly off. She's worried about her heat powers going haywire around the other team members. Probably not a good idea to strap something flammable to your back then. And she bemoans how her life has been turned upside down in recent months, how she was planning on getting married and have kids, but their lives have changed so much and they can't go back. And she refuses to go into more detail about what exactly happened, because, as I said, prequel to a movie that was supposed to explain this stuff. As she flies through the hallway with her jetpack, she's spotted by another assassin that chases her. The Bloodbot takes flight, all of its deadly hardware gearing up and at the ready. Unfortunately for it, Windows Update suddenly hits it and forces it to reboot to install the latest patches. It manages to blast her out of the air, destroying the jetpack in the process. However, before it can deliver the killing blow, it gets blowed up too. You! I should have known you'd show up at the last second to save my skin! With your knowledge of the future, you always seem to be one step ahead of everything! And yet he still let you get shot and didn't prepare you guys for this attack. And here's a really terrible example of turning a 2-page spread on its side. As we reveal the half-face mask guy, Grim. It's just him in front of a broken window or something. There is no need for this to be turned on its side. It's just lazy. Their leader steps from the long shadows that litter the expansive hallway. So, did he, sidestep? Because what shadows on this did he step from exactly? A warrior from the future, equipped with an armory of weapons found nowhere else, Grim has become their savior. Yes, futuristic weaponry like inanimate carbon rods strapped to his arms. Also, in the future, Phantom of the Opera chic is gonna be a thing, so everyone walks around wearing half-face masks. Anyway, Grim, spelled with 2 M's, because poor literacy is cool, says he didn't need knowledge of the future to predict this, just his combat-born skills, and the ability to anticipate Byrne seeking refuge. Mind you, it's hard not to notice the woman jetpacking around the hallways. Meanwhile, yet another squad of cyborgs makes their way through the hallways looking for Brick's children, and end up stepping right on top of the pulverized Brick. And since we already demonstrated that he can transform into sand, naturally the attack on him didn't kill him, and he easily kicks the asses of these guys. Now you may be wondering how his outfit survived the attack too. So anyway, if a 2-page spread turned on its side is pointless, then it's even more pointless to have 1 page turned on its side. As we see with this one, just having the cyborgs, who I don't think any of them have a consistent design from page to page, shooting guns, as Brick meets out his peculiar brand of vigilante justice on behalf of his imperiled family. What's peculiar about it? He hit them really hard. Oh, but here's where the comic officially gives the audience the middle finger. We've seen 2-page spreads turned on their sides. We've seen a splash page turned on its side. Now let's see a single panel turned on its side. Yeah, for no good reason, this 3-panel page decided to shift its first one vertically, matching the splash page next to it flipped horizontally, while the rest is normal. And just so we can see some cyborgs getting blasted, Grim doing the splits sense and to actually grant some kind of background to a shot. You know, a common piece of advice for creative works is to learn all the rules so you know when to break them. Some people just assume you're supposed to break them all the time. Byrne's powers rely on her emotional state, so Grimm and Slider try to do their own ways of encouraging her to get her to use them. Or rather, push her buttons to get her mad enough to use them properly, much to her annoyance. Although the one time you'd think she should be gritting her teeth since her thought cloud suggests she's mad, her expression is more like...
Dull surprise!
Slider thinks to himself that he has feelings for Byrne that he can't tell her about because of reasons. It's over. We've vanquished them. How can you be so sure of that, Grimm? I say we take them all apart to be safe. Slider, cease. These units are all registering offline. Unfortunately, it turns out they were just using a VPN to hide their alternate logins. You know, Grimm, I make fun of your funky futuristic gizmos all the time, but the truth is, I'm glad you got 'em, partner. Especially that Roomba you got us. Man, the future seems awesome. As the four reunite, we cut over to the Dooms Corporation building, which looks kinda small compared to all the other skyscrapers in the distance, honestly. It seems the security guy who was planning this operation is being executed for his failure in dealing with the four. Also, the leader of the Dooms Corporation, Cyber Idol, with an S instead of a C because poor literacy, blah blah blah, buy the t-shirt from Shark Robot, apparently is wearing contact lenses with red skulls in them. And the story is just about how Activision Blizzard finally gave up the facade, isn't it? And so the guy is killed. Such a pity he will never know how well he truly served me. Yeah, because you just murdered him.
Is this the human condition of madness, leader? It is.
Cyber Idol, who's this dude who apparently is just a face embedded in a bunch of technology, including stuff that's just randomly yanking at his lip. What's that about? Orders them to prepare Mech-Max. Back over to the four, we learn that their base was in the Hidden Valley, land of Skull Mountain. Wait, has this actually been a He-Man ripoff this whole time? The four have decided to get the hell out of the base since its location is now known to the Dooms Corporation. His kids are obviously disappointed, and they're not the only ones, as both Brick and Byrne are lamenting the state of things, constantly on the run and unable to lead real lives. This is especially the case for Byrne, who's contacting her fiancé to let him know she has to leave again, and he may not see her for a while. In turn, he's ranting to her about how hard he's been trying to be encouraging during all this, but he wants her with him and not God knows where. Then again, maybe he'd be happier if he was eating his dinner at a table instead of leaving his dirty dishes on the floor.
Because that's how you get ants!
You're right! I can't expect your life to wait up for mine! It's not fair! I'm sorry. Your father and I both disagreed with your choice to go on the Dooms assignment in the first place. I hope you're happy with yourself for making that decision. Screw having powers you can't fully control and how you need to go into hiding and cyborgs are being sent to assassinate you. What really matters is how this affects me. He hangs up on her because he's a douchebag. Grimm comes in to get her since they're ready to leave. Feeling the distance of a universe between them, he knows that, as a warrior, he can offer no words or caresses to comfort the sobbing girl. As a warrior, I offer you this gun. May it bring you some solace. The group heads out on a ship, the Dooms Corporation detecting it and deploying Mech-Max. And so our comic ends with the team heading off to their new base so they can get some rest before planning their next move, not realizing that Mech-Max is attached to the lower side of their ship while flexing its huge muscles. To be continued. As if you didn't know. Well, yeah, because almost 13 years ago I declared that this comic's second issue sucks. And shock of all shocks, so does the first issue. What's interesting is that in better hands in the art, this might have been okay. We get plenty of information that allows us to piece together what happened, that they were ordinary people who signed up for some job for the Dooms Corporation, but then something gave them powers and the company wants to murder them now. But then you've got stuff like Grimm being from the future that's not really tied into that, the silliness of an evil company actually calling itself the Dooms Corporation. Might as well have called it Evil Co. if you're not gonna bother. And of course, you know, the god-awful artwork. They look like every other generic 90s image character, and the interiors certainly reflect that. bad layouts, lack of backgrounds, model inconsistency, and I need to turn the page on its side several times because the creative team couldn't bear to have this book be a normal 22 to 24 pages. No. This needed to be 29. So pat it to hell with 2-page spreads depicting a guy just standing there. I don't know if it was worth the wait to get back to this series, but it hasn't really improved my thoughts on it that much. Next time, back to Patreon-sponsored reviews. And please, be very, very quiet. It's bat hunting season. So if Byrne can't fly without the jetpack, who made her get into this pose on the cover where she's on one knee but leaning over enough so her other leg can be outstretched away from her? Hello my friends, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications on new video releases. If you'd like to support future videos, you can check out my Patreon or purchase a t-shirt via Teespring or Shark Robot. Thanks for watching!